The election is happening right now, and there's more to the ballot than just the presidential race. So let's take a look at another section, the ballot propositions. A renewal of 2004's Prop 71, Prop 14, if passed, would add $5.5 billion in bonds for stem cell research in California. Opponents say that Prop 71 was a product of its time, and funding for these projects should now come from the federal government. Prop 15 seeks to increase funding for schools and local governments by increasing property taxes on commercial and industrial properties, taxing them at market rate instead of being taxed on the purchase price. If passed, Prop 16 would repeal 1996's Prop 209, which prohibited discrimination or preferential treatment on the basis of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin. Prop 209, effectively banning affirmative action in the state, has seen wide criticism recently. Proposition 17 is proposing a new amendment to the California Constitution, which would allow convicted felons on parole to vote. California would join 19 other states in allowing felons on parole to vote. Currently, they are one of only 3 states requiring felons to complete their prison and parole sentences before regaining the right to vote. Prop 18, if passed, would allow 17-year-olds who would be 18 for that year's general election to vote in primary and special elections. Prop 19, if passed, would change how homeowners are taxed when they move. It would allow homeowners who are over 55, disabled, or victims of a wildfire or another disaster to save on property taxes when they move, by keeping the tax rate of their previous property, even if they move to a more expensive house. But it also limits the savings for inherited properties unless they are lived in as the primary residence. Prop 20, if passed, would list more crimes as violent felonies, increasing prison sentences and penalties for theft-related crimes like shoplifting. It would also mandate DNA collection for other misdemeanors. Currently, DNA collection is only mandated for arsonists and sex offenders. Prop 21, if passed, would give local governments greater leverage to pass rent control bills and control more properties. This is aimed at reducing homelessness by giving governments greater control over the housing market. Prop 22 is one of the most controversial propositions on the ballot this year. It's attempting to classify app-based drivers, think drivers for Uber, DoorDash, or Lyft, as independent contractors instead of true employees. This prop is backed by Uber and other app-based companies who say it allows drivers more flexibility in their work, but opponents argue that it's just a way for these companies to avoid providing benefits for the drivers who work for them. Another controversial proposition with major corporate donors on both sides, Prop 23 would require all dialysis clinics to have a doctor on site. Proponents say that this would improve care in all the clinics, especially in those in poor and minority neighborhoods where dialysis clinics are the most needed. While dialysis companies like DaVita argue that it puts an undue economic burden on clinics, which could cause many to fold. Prop 24, if passed, would amend current consumer privacy laws, which would prevent businesses from using sensitive personal information or sharing other personal information. It would also establish a new state agency to enforce these new laws. Prop 25, if passed, would eliminate cash bail in California. Cash bail criticized for keeping poor and minority citizens in jail who don't have the money for bail, and it would be eliminated in favor of a public safety and flight risk assessment to determine whether or not a defendant should be kept in jail until their trial. Is just a short overview of the propositions, and there's a lot of great resources online, including California's official voter information guide and ballotpedia.com. So get educated and go vote.